Welcome, everyone. That is a very good mic. I just want to confirm that people can hear me okay. Does that sound good? It sounds very different up here for the candidates when they speak into a microphone, so yeah, bear with us all, I think. I have a few announcements before we start, and then we're going to launch right into things. First of all, I just want to say, not part of my notes, thank you all so much for coming. Engagement is everything in elections, and it's so exciting to see a crowd like this. We didn't know when we started planning this if anyone would show up, and the fact that people have is evidence that you are engaged and plan to participate in this process. The Avon Chamber of Commerce acknowledges that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Our relationships are based on peace, friendship, and a commitment to walk the path of reconciliation. We are all treaty people. This past Monday was Truth and Reconciliation Day, which is a reminder to all of us that we have a long way to go. We also recognize that African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched that part of Mi'kma'ki, known as Nova Scotia, for over 400 years. We extend our thanks to the Brooklyn Fire Department Auxiliary, and especially to Gay, who put up with like 50 phone calls for me over the past week. So they are providing coffee and tea, and I begged them to put a donation thing out if any of you would like to leave some coin or even money that folds, because this not-for-profit group will find a great way to spend it in your community, for sure. So my name is Tim Carr. I'm the current volunteer president of the Avon Chamber of Commerce. The Avon Chamber of Commerce is a volunteer board of 11 amazing people, business owners who give of their time for their communities. We are led by our fearless coordinator. She's right over there, Heather Donahue. Our members include over 100 businesses in West Hants, and between 300 and 400 employees. We offer free certified education courses to anyone employed or retired in Nova Scotia, as well as a very competitive health care package. Our mission is to promote, develop, and serve business and industry, but also our communities. We host numerous events each year throughout our region. We are a non-partisan group, but we are all active in our communities. Tonight's event is not sponsored. After tonight's obligations for our board, I encourage our board members as private individuals to become fully engaged in the selection process, support a candidate, have an opinion, and express it. Please make note of emergency exits. There are emergency exits here, also where you came in. It depends on where the emergency happens. We're in a good building. If there's an emergency, I think we're covered. Washrooms are located through those doors at the back, and you just kind of turn right for the men, and the women's is right there. We discourage filming with personal devices. Photographs are okay. Tonight's forum is being professionally recorded and will be available to view in the coming days for the public who weren't able to attend tonight. And it doesn't look like there would be many of them, because I feel like everyone's here, which is amazing. So feel free during tonight's deliberations to applaud. We're not asking you to not clap or anything like that. If you are uncomfortable potentially being on camera, we encourage you to sit a bit further back, although the camera itself is really focused on the stage, so you don't have to worry too much about being on camera if you're uncomfortable. From 8 o'clock to 8:30, the part I'm looking forward to the most, we have scheduled what we call in my house a Hants County goodbye. I grew up in Upper Falmouth, so we're terrible at saying goodbye in Hants County. It takes us forever. And you know this is true. We stand in each other's front porches, we walk people to their cars and do all that stuff. And that is a wonderful, wonderful quality that we all share. So we've scheduled a half an hour tonight for you to have your Hants County goodbye with candidates and with neighbors and friends. Yeah. Our moderator this evening is ill. Angela Carver agreed to come tonight. She is our former president of our Chamber of Commerce. She's also the current president of the Rotary Club of Windsor and was a recipient of a volunteer award from this municipality just, I think, earlier, maybe last week. So she, unfortunately, is ill. She sends her regrets, her very, very sincere regrets, and we wish her well. It's a tough time for illness, as most of you know, so we certainly hope everyone who isn't with us tonight and is ill is able to recover quickly and join their communities again. So tonight's forum is not a debate. All questions have been submitted by the public. Thank you for all your questions. There were many with a wide range of topics. However, strong themes emerged. Candidates were asked to prepare for only the first 3 questions. All candidates will be given equal time to address each question, up to 3 minutes if necessary. I have a timer, and I will warn candidates when they have 30 seconds remaining, and then I, unfortunately, will cut candidates off after 3 minutes for fairness. Candidates will also introduce themselves and give closing remarks. We've scheduled the last half hour, like I said, 8:30 for networking is what it says up here, but it's a Hants County goodbye. Please use that opportunity, that half hour, to ask additional questions of candidates. I know you all have them. I have questions that aren't on my page tonight. You know, you can take that time to finish your coffee, chat with neighbors, or stack a chair or two, because that would be really helpful when it's all over. So thank you to our 4 candidates. We appreciate your willingness to participate. Our hope is that this is an informative learning opportunity for everyone in this room and anyone who gets to watch this broadcast when it is posted in the coming days. We are fortunate to live in a place where many of us call our politicians by their first names respectfully, and I've asked candidates tonight if it's okay with them if I use their first names, and they all kind of intimated that it's really fine for everyone in the room to use first names. So we are going to start with introductions. I've let the candidates know the sequence, that they'll give their brief introductions. And our first candidate to speak is Jeff. And I will say, actually, Jeff, that if candidates are comfortable coming to this microphone, I'm going to step back. There are 2 mics on their tables that they're welcome to share as well. Some people feel comfortable standing. Some people feel comfortable sitting. Yeah, it's really up to the candidate. But so I'm going to, at this point, invite Jeff up to introduce himself.
Thank you guys for all coming here tonight. Could you please give me a show of hands if you know who Jeff is? For anyone that doesn't know me, I am Jeff Hartt, hard-working family man and a business owner of Call Me Excavating. I'm 51 years old. Can you hear me back there? I'm 51 years old and have been licensed to install sewer systems since 1984. If you do the math, yes, I was 11 when I received my license to install on-site sewer systems. I have 4.5 years experience as municipal councillor, and I have been a dad for 30 years. While it is my name on the ballot, it will be all of you sitting in the chair. All of you and my interactions with you over my lifetime in West Hants has molded me to be your best choice for mayor. A vote for Jeff is a vote for you.
Our next candidate to speak is Abe.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Abraham Zebian. Proudly born and raised in Hants County, I currently call Falmouth my home with my wonderful wife Samira and our 4 children, Ali, Zaina, Mira, and Jad. With experience as a District 9 councillor, warden of West Hants, and currently as your mayor, 8 years in total, along with 24 years of service in a business mindset, Having run successful business throughout the province, volunteering with numerous organizations, sitting on multiple committees, raising a young family, I've learned the true meaning of dedication and hard work. West Hants is not just where I planted my roots, it's my future. It's our future. I've tirelessly worked with council to make our region the place where residents, businesses, and visitors thrive. My passion for West Hants is unmatched, and I'm determined to make our regional municipality even better. I'm committed to inspiring people to live, visit, and do business here. I want to continue to lead a council to keep growing our region responsibly with value for your tax dollars top of mind. I'm proud of the work we've done together. Let's keep it going. Vote Abraham Zebian.
So I will point out that introductions are brief. We've asked for brief introductions and conclusions. There'll be less getting up and moving around. We've given candidates a longer time to answer your questions that you've submitted. Chuck, you're up for your introduction.
I better not touch that. I usually have to bring it down a little bit. My name is Chuck Porter. I have been born and raised, lived here all my life, raised my family here, and I've been in politics for quite a few years. I spent 17 years in the earlier part of my life as a paramedic on the streets locally here and around Nova Scotia in various places. Following that, I spent 15 years in provincial politics as the MLA for Hants West. That was indeed quite an honor, and I really enjoyed that and working for people, and I look forward to doing that again as mayor. So it's great to be here this evening, to have such a great crowd out here as well, and I think it's great to be here with these three other gentlemen, and that we have so much competition, not only for mayor, but when you look around the districts here in West Hants, how many candidates are out in each district running. I think that's fantastic, and going to be some great races, going to be some great people that are elected. Congratulations to those 5, I think, that have been acclaimed and will come back to the table, and I'm encouraged by what I've seen so far. I've been on the doors, been talking to people, and it should be really a great team coming forward, regardless of who's elected as mayor, but to continue building with the folks that are going to be elected and join whoever is mayor at that table and move forward as we have been here in West Hants. Thanks so much.
And next we have KJ, our 4th candidate. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kjeld Mizpah, KJ for short. And you know, I'm new to the region. I relatively moved here recently. But when I moved here, I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the culture. And every day that I drive around and I meet new folks, I see and understand the passion that everyone in this room actually has. West Hants is at a pivotal point of transition. And when we navigate that transition, we need to ensure that as we move forward, we keep into consideration the historical context of our region, but also looking forward to see where we're going to move forward. And as we move forward, ensure that we are moving towards a collective North Star. I know we're going to be talking a lot about questions here, but if you have questions that you want to explore, please reach out to our candidates and also reach out to us, my campaign, through our website. We're actually trying to gather as much information possible to hear what people are saying and give it back to the new council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We're going to move on straight into our questions. And like I said, all of the questions were submitted by the public, which, again, we appreciate. We didn't want to write questions. We didn't want to be responsible for that. So thank you all for doing that. We've not included people's names who submitted the questions, but you might recognize one if you were one of those people. So for our first question, Chuck will come and answer the question first, and then in sequence the other 3. Their names were drawn randomly at work today by my co-op student, Avery, so thanks to Avery for sorting that little part of the day out. Avery can't vote yet, but was very interested in the process. So question number 1, provided by the public. Amalgamation is a relatively new reality for our region. What specifically remains to be done to bring our communities together and ensure this structure is fair and equitable for all? And Chuck will address this question first.
Thanks, Tim. You know, it's been an interesting time coming together. We had Hantsport who joined West Hants, and then Windsor, of course, coming on board to create the municipality, the regional municipality district of West Hants. I think it takes years to work through that process. This isn't something that happens to bring everybody together within 2 or 3 or 4 years. It takes quite a while to get everything in order. There's a lot of different aspects from each of those respective municipal units. And there are and will always be things that we need to work on. From HR onward, what does that look like? Infrastructure. The different towns had different policies and so on and so forth. There's all of that. But when we look ahead and think about some of the things maybe we haven't quite touched on yet, it's interesting that we're standing in this building tonight. I've talked to a lot of firefighters from different areas who've actually come to me and talked about this, and it was the whole idea of bringing them together, the idea of having a regional chief to work with them, to put forward their ideas, to bring forward what their needs are into the future, buying vehicles, HR issues, recruitment. This is an ongoing issue that volunteers, and we've got the best of volunteers. There is no question about that when it comes to our fire service. We're fortunate in West Hants to have such a great team of people who come out. And I only have 3 minutes, so I want to get to the other part of this, and that is the EMO side of this. We have a REMO here as well, a Regional Emergency Management Organization. When we were younger and kids going to school and learning a lot about fires, we learned stop, drop, and roll. We've all seen what the weather has been doing in the last few years and how it has been so drastic, how it's changed. We can't change Mother Nature, but we can adapt. I think we need to spend some time educating everybody, all of our residents, not only here, but certainly around our province. The weather is changing. What to do when we see these floods coming on? We've experienced some pretty tragic happenings around Nova Scotia. Here at home, we saw in Woofle earlier what terrible things had happened. Would a little bit of education hurt? I don't think so. I think we really need to be out there. We need to be letting people know what to do when we see winds and rains coming the way we've seen them. It's just so changed from what it used to be. So there's a lot of things that we need to work on together as we move forward in the years ahead. These are just a couple of things I talked about. The fire service being very important. I was a part of that years ago, a member of Windsor. Back in the 80s, early 90s, it's been quite a while since I've been a firefighter, at the same time as a paramedic, and of course moved on like lots do. But again, lots to, 30 seconds did I hear? Thank you. Lots to work on as we move forward together, but the big thing is together. Working together as a team, being strong, taking that counsel, sitting down, having great conversations. Where are we going? What do we need to do to keep the residents of West Hants successful as we possibly can, and strong together? Thank you.
So next to talk about the question regarding amalgamation is KJ. And if you'd like, KJ, I can reread the question. Or okay. So amalgamation is a relatively new reality for our region. What specifically remains to be done to bring our communities together and ensure this structure is fair and equitable for all?
Okay, this is actually my 9 to 5. I have the privilege of working around Atlantic Canada with regional municipalities as they approach amalgamation. So a lot of the work that I do is building up the trust, understanding that you need a network to ensure that you're able to go from an individual and now move as a collective. And as Chuck said, it takes time, but you also need the, no pun intended, you need the infrastructure to ensure that you're able to build that trust. And it's not just looking at the staff, it's also looking at council, but it's also understanding that we are approaching big challenges. So it's looking at building that trust, meeting people where they are, connecting with the multiple community organizations within our region that are constantly volunteering and putting the effort into creating that stickiness that brings our communities together, and connecting it with the community centers. And that's why our campaign has done community engagement sessions to build that trust, to showcase if we are elected, this is what we're going to do. We're going to come to your ground, we're going to come to your space and be able to collaborate in your turf. But then one thing that's really cool that Montreal did is after their amalgamation, their mayor looked at all of their communities that came together and said, we have a big problem here. Everyone is not walking in the same area. So what that mayor did, as long as with their staff, they went around the region, they asked the questions, they did the learning journeys, they did what they had to do, and then they convened their whole municipality together. And for 3 days, they came together to figure out where is the North Star, where we want to go, and also understand the challenges that folks are seeing. One perk of, going around this municipality is we are saying a lot of the same things, but because of how vast we are, we're not really having the opportunities to listen to each other. So that's kind of like my approach. So it's building the trust, building the capacity, and building that infrastructure, and trying to figure out ways of convening the communities.
Thank you. Jeff, would you like me to reread the question before you answer?
Me?
Yeah.
Could I stand up?
Yeah, absolutely. Did you want me to reread it, or you're good?
I'm good.
Okay, perfect.
Else wants it? Yeah. The biggest issue with, we were on, what's the question again? Amalgamation?
So I'll read it again. Amalgamation is a relatively new reality for our region. What specifically remains to be done to bring our communities together and ensure this structure is fair and equitable for all? I'm going to leave it right there for you.
Right on. The biggest issue with consolidation is all the new shiny equipment that has showed up since amalgamation. I hear it every day in the community. Going forward, it will be the decision of the new council to decide between wants or needs. It is my belief, going forward, the new council needs to go through the budget, line by line, to better understand the decisions they are making for the taxpayers' dollars, to show the fairness for the entire West Hants region. Thank you.
And our last speaker on the first question is Abe.
Thank you, Tim. So the question on amalgamation, bringing our communities together, ensuring the structure is fair and equitable, folks. I believe we've been doing that for the last 4.5 years as a new regional municipality council. It's been pretty successful in my opinion, but it definitely hasn't been without its hiccups. And I wouldn't be honest if I didn't say that. Nothing is perfect, and this council has faced a lot of challenges over the last 4 years, but have still been successful on many initiatives. We have a fully funded and robust region with healthy reserves. Our region has never looked better, and some may disagree with that, but door to door since the 18th of August, I think that's the general consensus of folks in West Hants. We have a strong future capital plan, investing heavily in all of our communities, our community centers, community groups, and halls. Our beautification program is second to none. It's very visible on your streets, and it will be visible going forward in many, many, many of our communities. Creating supports for residents has been top of mind for this council, such as the flood mitigation program, which puts up to $20,000 in the pockets of people who qualify to do those repairs or those upgrades on their homes. That's with CSO flooding. Up to $10,000 for people who experience overland flooding. We have the home residential mitigation program or assistance on your taxes, which gives up to $400 back for qualified homeowners. We have the utility assistance program that council has created for sewer and bulk water customers that gives it back $200 to residents. We have our Inspire Fund. We have yearly funding to the Hants Shore Health Center. That's never been done before, but has been done by this council. Funding for our food banks, successful partnerships with multiple organizations, recreation subsidy that many people have taken advantage of that levels the playing field for every resident within this municipality. I'm proud to say that all these initiatives have made a difference. More money in your pockets. Hobart's Beach enhancements, Avondale Boat Launch, Avon River Heritage Society operational funding, Newport GFL Recreation Center capital funding, West Hants Sports Complex enhancements, family events throughout every region, all 52 communities within this municipality. It's all we've done over the last 4 years are bringing everybody together through consolidation. Like I said, 4 years. We started with COVID, we went into fires, then we went into floods. With all those programs, it's been pretty successful. Going forward, we still have to connect our communities with sidewalks. We were hearing it over and over and over again. All right, thank you very much.
Normally, I don't cut people off, and that's not the Hants County way, but we really, really want to make sure that this is very fair for people. And like I said, we'll all have opportunities to speak with the candidates again later. I apologize for that, Abe. We're going to move on to question number 2, which was, again, a big theme that we saw in the questions from the public. So the first person who's going to answer this question will be KJ, and then after KJ, Jeff, and then Abe, and then Chuck. I'm going to ask the question here the first time, and I can repeat it as many times as people would like. So question number 2. We are experiencing a national housing crisis. What specific steps, as mayor, will you take to address housing in our communities? So, KJ.
Once again, this is my 9 to 5. I do like a lot of work around housing innovation. And one thing that we look at when we talk about housing is we look at the financing of it and we look at ownership. So a lot of the work that I do is redefining how do we finance housing and really encouraging unconventional ways of home ownership. So one project that I've been working on is a community land trust where communities come together and said, you know what, we can be developers. You know, if we put our money together to solve a problem around affordable housing, we too can be at the table of development. And what we're seeing now, especially in this movement of housing, is folks are coming together and utilizing their resources to start figuring out the problem. But one issue that we're getting up into is understanding how municipalities can create the environment and remove barriers to ensure that unconventional ways of ownership can have. So when I look at the housing crisis, I think we need to provide competition in the space of building housing. And so that's looking at other forms of home ownership, but then also looking at what the municipality can do from our standpoint and to encourage affordable housing to be developed, and looking at what assets does the municipality have that can be utilized so that people can be investment ready for housing.
Thank you so much. Jeff, I'm going to repeat the question just for the crowd, honestly. So again, we are experiencing a national housing crisis. What specific steps, as mayor, will you take to address housing in our communities?
As mayor, with our next council, we have an obligation to our current residents that infrastructure matches our future development while keeping the individuality of our communities. The issue in front of us right now is to meet our new housing needs with the proper infrastructure already in place. We cannot have one without the other. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Abe, would you like me to repeat the question? No.
I'll try to keep it under 3 minutes this time. Address housing in communities. I want to start off, folks, by saying mayor is only one vote out of 12 on a council and has no special powers, no special authority. He is, or she is, or they are the exact same opinion and vote as any of the other members on that council. According to the Provincial Housing Needs Assessment, West Hants is and will be meeting its housing targets now and into the future. Council has approved developments at an unprecedented rate over the last 4 years, and you're starting to see these projects take shape and be built. And that's going to go forward many, many, many years. I really think this This question is worded a little wrong. No disrespect to the Chamber of Commerce there, but it's not about addressing housing in our communities. It's about addressing the affordability of housing in our communities. As mayor, I will champion the promotion of affordable units as bonus density in new developments. We have to ensure the affordable aspect keeps on being brought up over and over and over again. You are going to get tired of hearing that word affordability if I'm your mayor come October 19th. I believe the municipality can take a very much more proactive approach in tackling the affordability and looking at the municipally owned lands and assets that could be developed into 100% affordable units. Now, this, I've said it for 8 years now, and I'll say it going forward, municipalities are horrible at being a developer. We're horrible at many things, but what we are good at is partnering with the experts who know how to do it. And going forward, it's going to be partnerships with the experts that know how to do these things. And that's your community local service groups, such as the Posse Project, such as Harvest House, and others who do the affordable housing throughout the province. We have a lot that we could do. We have a lot within our community who are experiencing that underhoused feeling. They just cannot make ends meet, folks. And municipality can do a lot with that. I'm not the type who lays down the heavy hand. I've had a lot of people approach me about tents. I've had a lot of people approach me about individuals walking around our streets. We have to be compassionate. We have to have a heart. We have to work for solutions for these folks. We've approved small options housing, tiny homes, attached and detached secondary suites. Again, I'll say it over and over again, housing is not the issue, it's affordability of our housing that we currently have. Congratulations to the Posse Project, the work they're doing on mental health and crisis intervention, that's top of mind, and to Harvest House on the new building that they just acquired. With these groups working with the municipality, we will address housing in our community and be successful at it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Chuck is the last candidate to speak on the topic of housing.
Abe touched on it a bit. This is not just about affordability. This is affordability. This is accessibility. We don't have enough. We see it. Here we are, another winter, the cold season knocking on the door. We saw some incredible things happen last year. Warming centers, stormy nights, people volunteered. They stayed down at the community center. The municipality was part of that. That's a great thing. There's more that has to be done. There are incredible partnerships that have to happen here. The Prime Minister of this country made a statement that housing is a basic right. We expect him to come to the table. The Premier of Nova Scotia has made a similar comment. We expect them to come to the table. I think they will. We need to lead that. It is local for us. We should be leading this. Along with other levels of government, their funding, whatever it is that we need, we have incredible people out there working in organizations and groups that can offer wonderful ideas. No one person, no one group has all the answers here, but together, you can come up with a great team of people that can work together and probably create some pretty happening things around. In this province, we've seen almost 500, I think, units become available around through government funding in different parts of the province. Why not here? We need to ask those tough questions. We need to reach out. We need to work with our local members. She's here tonight. Hi, Melissa. It's nice to have you here, too. She should be recognized. It's great that you can join us for this debate tonight. She's our local MLA, and I know she's out there working hard, too. It's a tough issue that we've been working on for years. This isn't new. This isn't just about Windsor and West Hants. This isn't just about down the valley. This isn't about Cape Breton. This is about our nation. I've had the pleasure of traveling a bit around this country, and it's hard to believe that we've been seeing what we've seen in Toronto and Vancouver and Ottawa and different big cities. Halifax, even in recent years. We are now seeing stretch to the more rural areas of Nova Scotia. There's any number of reasons why people are homeless, why they have these issues. Along with all of those things that have been mentioned, we need to make sure that we support these folks, not only in getting them affordable, available housing. Some of these folks have mental health issues. No wonder if they're homeless. Some have addictions. They come for various reasons. Those supports also have to be there in the long term to make this work and to be successful and to help people get off the street that want to be off the street. There's any number of challenges. But what I've been most amazed with, and I've seen it, pre-COVID and certainly through COVID, the generosity of the people of this area never ceases to amaze me. They just keep coming forward day after day after day, and they want to help. They need some leadership on this. We need to come together at the table, and you need all them people if we're going to make this work and we're going to do anything for anybody for the long term. Thank you.
Thank you all. Just so you know, I didn't intend on tucking back and forth. I do have this, which I'm supposed to be sitting there letting them all know that they have 30 seconds left, but we're a little short-staffed tonight, so you just have to bear with it all. Thank you all. And I did notice Melissa, by the way, when she came in, and I wanted to wave and embarrass her, but I didn't bother doing that, so I'm glad that you got pointed out. So thank you for coming, Melissa. When I mentioned at the beginning that we call our politicians respectfully by their first names, I actually was going to do the whole list, with Chuck and Scott and Melissa and Cody, and it just goes on. And of course, Abe, who's sitting here. We're going to move on to the third question. This question was, I guess if you could categorize questions, probably the most emotional question that we received repeatedly from the public. So again, because these questions are sort of came into a theme, we really wanted our candidates to prepare for the commonly asked questions so you could get as much information as possible. So for question number 3, Jeff will be the first to answer the question, and then Abe, and then Chuck and KJ will answer the question finally. So question number 3. We have received several questions regarding flooding in various areas in the region. What specific steps will you undertake to address the needs of those who experience repeated flooding from rain events?
I guess you're getting a common theme. I'm pretty well a straight shooter. I'm going to keep this simple. We need to divert stormwater from our municipal sewer systems. This is where will be important for me to bring my experience to the discussions. For example, we could look at diverting Clifton Pond in Windsor to Lake Pisquid instead of overflowing into our sewer system. Or maybe devise some pipes and valves to allow to utilize the volume of this pond. For example, if we had the ability to lower or raise Clifton Pond by 48 inches, that would give us the ability to hold 2 million gallons of water from entering the system until after the rain event. For rural residents, we could be better advocates than we have been. As we see or are made aware of the provincial infrastructure issues that negatively affect our residents with floodwaters in West Hants, we can advocate to highlight these issues to the province for repair or improvement. Thanks.
Thank you. Abe, would you like me to repeat the question? Okay.
Just in case nobody knows, it's on flooding and how we support those people or undertake certain steps. Before I answer, folks, as Tim had mentioned earlier, it's a pretty emotional question for our community. So I just want to take a moment and remember those that we lost in last year's floods. Colton, Natalie, Nicholas, and Terry Lynn. They were dear to us. We'll never forget them, and they're forever always in our hearts. I also want to thank everybody who came out to help us last year. We've said it multiple times. I'll say it again. West Hants Fire Service personnel, Brooklyn Fire Department Auxiliary, West Hants Grand Search and Rescue, RCMP, West Hants staff, special units, Provincial Public Works, everybody else who has a big heart and wanted to help. We owe you the gratitude. Thank you very much. You are inspirational. As your mayor, I will ensure EMO is fully funded and that we are prepared for the next event when it happens. And I'll say when it happens because it will happen again, folks. That's the reality of today's world. We will get stronger and stronger after every single event, and we will be ready. I will continue to advocate to the province to allocate proper funding to our local provincial Department of Public Works folks to keep those ditches and those culverts clear and repaired and updated and clean out all of that debris that keeps on getting washed away and build up and not allowing that water to flow naturally. We need to ensure our planning documents restrict future development in flood-prone areas and coastal areas. We need to ensure that all protections on infill sites and elevation changes that may have negative consequences and effects on nearby properties. We have to make sure that is addressed while we are approving developments. I will ensure proper funding for infrastructure upgrades for municipal assets and continue separating those combined systems. Working with residents, we need to work together, especially those that are on provincial jurisdiction. And there is a lot of our community that is in provincial jurisdiction. So we have to work with residents and help them navigate those processes and to get their concerns addressed. I want to include wetland delineations as requirements in our planning processes going forward on parcels of land that may be wet. But we're relying on outdated information, folks. Wetlands, while they may not be identified, there are a lot of wetlands, and we just dealt with one this previous week on a development. So we have to ensure that. Going forward for the areas of Falmouth, 3 Mile Plains, Hantsport, and Windsor, a lot of these areas still have combined CSO systems, folks. We have to address those combined systems. We need to address engineered solutions. We all have our ideas, but the engineers are going to know how to fix this properly, and council has to get behind those, enact that funding for those solutions, and get on it. There's no more waiting. That is coming up, and let's do it together.
I feel terrible interrupting people, so I apologize again for that. Our moderator, who was ill, like I mentioned earlier, she'd have been better at it, I think. So KJ's the last to answer the first question. I'm going to read it once more, just for everyone out there. Obviously, it deals with flooding. We've received several questions regarding flooding in various areas in the region. What specific steps will you undertake to address the needs of those who experience repeated flooding from rain events? KJ. Oh, that's a good question.
Is this one better, or can everybody hear this one?
I'm sorry. Oh, let me look. I might be looking at the wrong question. Oh, sorry, Chuck. You're right. It is you. I apologize. Sorry, Chuck.
No worries. Whatever order you like is fine. We've been experiencing this issue for some time, for years. We've seen areas in Hantsport, Falmouth, Brooklyn, and certainly Windsor that have been wet, underwater during these crazy rainstorms in the last couple of years. More often than we've seen in the past. We know one of the major issues that we hear about, of course, is Stannis Street in that area down there. Abe touched on it, where we have sewer running in with the stormwater, and Jeff touched on it. This is a serious issue. This is a health and safety issue. It's an environmental issue. This has to be dealt with, and it has to be dealt with right away. This has gone on for a few years now. It's time to get to it. I realize this costs money, big money. This is not going to be done overnight. We have to have a plan. We need it in place. We need it in place right away. We need to be reaching out to the federal government and the provincial government, and along with municipalities. There are programs out there through municipal affairs who, and I know this firsthand because I was there, who put monies out to municipalities every year. Big money out. I know you can't do it maybe all in one time, but we really need to look at this and have a plan in place to deal with this right away. And when we look back, we might look at the town of Windsor where this current issue, what was the former town of Windsor, where this issue in Stannis Street exists, and others. When the infrastructure was created, it wasn't made for what we have today. We've developed, and we've developed quite a bit in certain areas around it. We have to ensure that when we're doing further developments, that we're allowing for the right infrastructure to be put in place. These are really important issues when we're talking about development agreements. We should be talking about this. It should be a check off on the list. How are we sitting when it comes to our infrastructure? Can we handle what we're about to do? I am very much for development. Let's be clear. It's been great for our area, and it will continue to be great for our area. We need that all around in every community that we can have it in. But we have to have the infrastructure in place to be able to handle it. It has to be part of what we're doing. But we really have to address this issue where we have sewer running out on the streets, in our parks, where we host things like our farm markets, where kids play. It's not acceptable. It has to be dealt with. I'm prepared to strike and deal with that right away. That is a major priority for me. I know how to pick up the phone, call people, call the governments, the other government. This isn't the only place this has ever happened, I'm sure. There has got to be people you can reach out to and have conversations whereby we can fix these issues. There are options, I think, that are available to us. We need to take advantage of that. And again, we need to do this right away. We need to look after the health and safety of those folks down there who've already been involved in this. I know one resident down there who was asked to have inoculations for the health because of this sewer. To date, I don't believe that's been done. That is a fight I'm also prepared to make. We need to ensure people are safe. It's one thing to look at the infrastructure down there, the houses down there. We'll deal with that. Do they want to be fixed up, raised up above this level? Do they want to be sold? There's all kinds of those options. We need to look at that as well, but it's secondary based on the environmental issues and certainly the health and safety issues of all the residents in these areas. All of these areas need work. All of this will cost a great deal of money. We need to realize that, and I think everybody in this room does realize that. We will work toward that. We can't be forever getting to it. We have to do it. It's important. And I think if we don't soon do it, it's going to be an even bigger issue for us. It will hold us back. Thank you.
Okay, our question on flooding, repeated flooding from rain events for KJ. So yeah, try to talk really well into the mic, or I can bring this one down for you.
So I have a tendency to have a radio voice. Is this better? Okay, all right. I won't repeat what everyone has said about infrastructure. The thing that I will come at is looking at the financing of it, because looking at impact investing is kind of the work that I do. And win or lose this election, like I currently live in the flood zone, so I will still be trying to figure out how to finance this thing, because that's the conversation that needs to be had. And when we look at financing infrastructure, Infrastructure Canada has said that by 2027, most of municipal infrastructure will be at the brink of failing. That's across the country. And with that kind of conversations, folks around Canada are realizing and seeing the impact of what's happening with our infrastructure. So we need to figure out ways of looking at financing in an unconventional way, whether that's looking at community economic development funds, so leaning into the CDIVs, looking at community bonds, trying to look at unconventional ways that looks at financing that does not fully go onto the tax rate, but is able to build onto the infrastructure investments from the province and the federal government. Regardless of what we think, we as a collective own all infrastructure and all things that are connected with West Hants. So if we as a collective own this infrastructure and own the risk that's connected with the flood preventions, we need to start thinking as a collective in the financing of it. And there are conferences happening, like I'm going to Ottawa in November with the Impact Investing Network, and we're having these conversations with the federal government as they gear up to the federal election, to showcase the importance of rural infrastructure investing and how can we help rural municipalities to build up their capacity, because we are vast. Like we are almost 1,300 square kilometers of space, and that is a lot of space that we need to be able to prepare for when it comes to flooding. So working with municipalities throughout Atlantic Canada, because multiple folks are having these conversations. I'm currently working on a project with 7 municipalities throughout Atlantic Canada who are asking these questions, who are rural municipalities. And we are all sitting at a table saying, how can we work together and bring resources to our region? Because this is an Atlantic Canadian issue that we're experiencing, and how can we actually solve the problem and be able to help our staff as well as help our councils be able to solve these problems.
Thank you all. So, as I said from the beginning, those questions, the first three questions that we asked, we provided to the candidates in advance because people were talking about housing and flooding and amalgamation. They're things that came up over and over. The remainder of the questions that we're going to ask have not been shared with candidates, so it's a little bit off the cuff, which is really fun. The first question that I'm going to ask, question number 4, came from non-voters, young people, which makes it my favorite question. It actually came from students at the West Hants Middle School here in Brooklyn. So the Chamber received multiple questions from some of our younger constituents regarding the lack of sidewalks and their safety traveling to and from their rural schools. How, as mayor, could you work with the provincial government to address these safety concerns? So we're going to start with Abe.
What a great question. We've been talking about sidewalks and streetlights for 4 years now, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier on in the evening. That's how we go forward connecting our communities, folks. I'll give you examples of the residents in Brooklyn. I call it the Brooklyn downtown area, where you can walk to the bread gallery, you can walk to the rink, you can walk to the elementary school or the junior high school. You can get to here, right here where we are tonight, Civic Centre. That's what people are looking for. They're looking for a safe way to go about from community to community, whether you're Brooklyn, 3 Mile Plains, Falmouth, Windsor, or beyond, down the Vaughns, Chester Road. That's what people are looking for, folks. Our population is growing. Our communities are growing. Our roads are getting busier. There's a lot more traffic. People are speeding. People are in a rush to go nowheres these days, and we keep on seeing it over and over again. RCMP, calls to RCMP, we need more RCMP, speeders, crazy drivers, unsafe roads, no shoulders to walk on. Going forward, as this community keeps on growing, as this region is growing, we need to ensure sidewalks are installed. And that's in coordination, that's in consultation with you folks. If you guys don't tell us what you're looking for, it's hard for us to take those steps. So that's definitely something that's been on our radar. Like I said earlier, COVID, fires, floods, it's set us back a little bit during these first 4 years. The next 4 years, I would be surprised if we don't start achieving these things like sidewalks and streetlights. It's a priority going forward, and it's definitely something that's going to be needed. Thank you.
So I'll read the question quickly again. We received a number of questions from our younger constituents regarding the lack of sidewalks and their safety traveling to and from rural schools. How, as mayor, could you work with the provincial government to address these safety concerns? And the next to address this question is KJ.
Okay. The first thing would be, I think that we could say this for a lot of things. As a municipality, we need to improve how we approach intergovernmental affairs. So we need to ensure that we are on the docket as the province looks to do their improvements. But then also as community, we need to have a larger conversation around education, around driving on the roads. Like I've walked on roads, and like I almost felt like I had to jump off for a second. So there is a notion that we can also educate folks because when we look at building up these type of infrastructures, we need to be able to plan for them, but also we need to educate at the same time. We need to ensure that as we are building and as we're growing, we're also looking at ways of being able to live with this new form of infrastructure as well. So that would be my approach is, intergovernmental education. And actually one thing that just coming to my head now is going back to my earlier statements about impact investing, we have the opportunity to create community funds so that we can also raise capacity in the financing components so that when issues like this come or when students or youth come together and say, we want to fix this, it doesn't come back to a council and say, well, we have to look at the budget. If we as a collective invest in our youth and showcase that young people are coming up with these concerns, and we as folks that are able to can invest in these ideas, I think that's also an interesting approach that we can champion as well, putting the money into the place so that young people can see solutions that as they are joining the process of democracy.
So again, the question is about the safety of our children in their rural schools, heading to and fro. It was when this question was asked, I had a conversation with the kids who sort of submitted it, and really, you know, they were just wanting to see if you could all help, really was their plea. So that's really where this question came from. And I know that most of us in this room live in a rural area, and a lot of you have children or grandchildren, so I just love this question. I'm also a sidewalk freak, like I just love sidewalks and think they should be everywhere, so I'm glad somebody asked about them. So Jeff, again, the question is about keeping our kids safe.
So, sidewalks on a provincial road, it's going to be a hard thing to do with the ditches and people owning the property next to the road. Yeah, I don't know, but with petitions from the public, that sure brings the politicians around to thinking when they see 1,000 names on a list, you know, it'll show them their voters want it, and I think that would be the best thing going forward with sidewalks on provincial roads is get petitions for our MLAs and get them signed and get them off to them. Thanks.
And lastly on this question is Chuck. Would you like me to repeat it? No, you're okay.
Thank you, and certainly a great question brought forth by our youth. They're brilliant. They pay attention. We might think they don't, but they do. These kids, when we look at areas and options and places to start, schools, Abe touched on it, and everybody's touched on it, really, lots of good answers here, but when we're reconstructing roads, yeah, they might say they're provincial roads, sure they are. That doesn't mean you don't do it. Have the conversations. Is there funds available? How can we raise those funds? There may be a multitude of ways to raise funds. Typically, we don't have. I can't think of any right off the top of my head in this county, and I know it fairly well, where we have a sidewalk and not too many streetlights around. Doesn't mean we shouldn't have them. There's a lot of areas that I've worked over the years as the provincial member where I've had a lot of battles over, and I'm looking at Lisa down there, and you know where I'm talking about, Lisa. We've had a lot. It's a narrow road. There's heavy traffic and trucks on there, and kids are walking and getting on school buses. This has to be a priority for us. Maybe you start with sidewalks in areas, you know, where the children gather to get on the school buses and get off school buses and things like that. There's all kinds of ideas that we should be looking at. I would never say we shouldn't do it. We should consider all of these issues. The health and safety of our young people and some of us older people who also like to walk the roads is paramount. We can't forget about those things. I know there's a lot of priorities. There will always be a lot of priorities in every level of government, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't be thinking about them, shouldn't be working on plans. Start small, work your way up. But it can be done if you really want to do it. If communities want them, villages like Brooklyn, which is busy, and there's other areas, there are places to start. And we're going to need our partners out there with other funds to help us out. Again, there's infrastructure dollars that exist. You can mark them as part of your annual priorities. You can work at them little by little. And when you reconstruct roads, when you repave, you can look at your options. Do we have a place for sidewalk? Could we put part of it there? I think we need to keep that in mind, and we need to move forward thinking about that. Thank you.
So are you guys cooking out there yet? Is it getting hot out there? We're going to keep rolling, and like I said, you know, at the end of the evening, you'll have lots of time to talk to the candidates and things like that. Our next question is from a Hantsport resident. It's a great question. It's a very difficult question, I think, so I'm going to read the question, and I'm just going to pause for a moment and allow the gentleman on stage to sort of digest it. I might read it twice because it is asking for two things. And just so you know, the first person who will answer this question is Jeff, and then KJ, Abe, and then Chuck. So I'm going to read it twice, like I said. Question number 5. You've just been elected mayor. List 3 things you will do in your first 100 days that will benefit urban residents. What 3 things will you do that will benefit rural residents? Essentially, you're being asked for 6 things. They could be similar things theoretically, I guess, but this question and other questions that we received really talked a bit about Hantsport Windsor and the rest of the region. So, and it was kind of encompassed in all of the amalgamation conversation and all of that. So I'm going to read it one more time while these gentlemen have a think about it. It's question number 5. You've just been elected mayor. List 3 things you will do in your first 100 days that will benefit urban residents. What 3 things will you do that will benefit rural residents? So I'm just going to slowly set my timer again, and then I'm going to, in a moment, I'll ask Jeff to come up and answer that question. So, okay, I think Jeff's all set. Great.
Yep. When something shows up unexpected, like this question just did, the best thing that I would normally do is to get together with council to give their thoughts, because they're going to have to give me their thoughts, and we're going to have to make a decision together. No decisions can be made by a mayor, so this question's not possible to answer the 3 things that I could do as a mayor other than lobbying to get things done. Yeah, because decisions are made as a council, so anyway.
So KJ will address this question next. Would you like me to read it again?
I think, yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So you've just been elected mayor. List 3 things you will do in your first 100 days that will benefit urban residents. What 3 things will you do that will benefit rural residents?
I'll keep in mind my 3 minutes, but I'll start with a story. When I first started this campaign, I was in Somerville, and it was after a big rainstorm, and I was driving down a dirt road, and my car got stuck, and I was stuck in mud for hours and trying to figure out how to get it out. But someone randomly looked at me and said, "You're not supposed to drive down that road," went back to their house, came back with the shovel, and started helping me. And in that moment, I learned more about that community than me just knocking on the door, asking people for help, or knocking on the door, doing the thing that you do. In that moment, we had a problem. We collaborated. I was made fun of for driving a RAV4 down a mud road. But we were able to talk about sewage. We were able to talk about rural. We were able to talk about urban. And he asked me where am I from? I said, I'm from West Hants. And he laughed at it because he was like, no, where are you from? I said, well, I live in Windsor, but when I moved to Windsor, I was like, I knew it was West Hants. And he was like, huh. And that has been the approach of my campaign. That would be my approach if I'm mayor, meeting community where they are and building the trust. The elephant in the room is we have a lot of mistrust in this amalgamation process. People do not trust the process. People do not trust their neighbors. People don't see themselves within this thing that we've created. And in my role, if I'm successful in mayor in my first 100 days, is meeting the community, building up that trust, getting people to understand who I am, and then trying to figure out ways of solving our problems in a respectful way, being mindful about, how we're going to do this, and really convening everyone to have these tough questions so that we can start seeing changes. Because we are saying the same things. We want to see the same things. It's just we're not seeing the clear road of how we're going to get there. So that would be my 100 days, being that navigator. As a lobbyist, I'm able to fly 30,000 feet in the air and able to come down to the ground level. As a community champion, I'm able to work with communities, good, bad, and ugly. And as someone who's raised money for folks, I know where the money is, and I know what to say, and I know how to get the money to the community. So that will be my 100 days.
Okay, next is Abe. Would you like me to repeat the question? No, you're good.
Just want to make sure it was me. All right. No disrespect to the chamber, but the question itself is, almost divisive. 3 things for urban, 3 things for rural. It's interesting how we say that, and the comments we've had so far on mistrust and earlier questions on how do we bring all the communities back together. And I'm going to give you 3 things that relate to both rural and urban all together in one. The first is implement a plan to fix the flooding issues in our serviced areas and look at what we do in our rural areas. So flooding, that's the first thing, working with council to implement those plans. We've been working on this for over 3 years, folks, and we're that close to start getting these answers and start getting that plan in place. So whoever it is, for mayor and councillors sitting around that table in October, a lot of the work has already been done, and you'll be very fortunate to have this information in a very, very quick period of time, and I will say that in the first 100 days, most likely. The second thing is to begin the conversation on how do we connect our communities with sidewalks. I have that plan in my mind. I have the vision in my mind. What council thinks on that may be a little bit different, maybe similar, but again, working with council and working with the community on how do we connect our communities, and that's urban and rural. Final thing, and this one is what touches every single community in West Hants, all 52 of us, and that's finalization of our planning documents, folks. People have been writing the documents off. We've been getting some interest. Other people saying, well, what's the big deal? They're planning documents. It's boring. Actually, it touches each and every single one of us in different ways, in very important ways. We've been hearing we want to protect our agricultural land, our fertile land, and how do we do that? We do that through our planning documents, folks. The number one benefit of consolidation is the ability now to focus our development in areas where we want it and preserving our agricultural lands. I can't keep on stressing that enough. That is incredibly important going forward. Protecting our agricultural lands, number one benefit of consolidation. Some may see it now, some may see it 4 years from now, but definitely into the future, people are going to realize that. The ability to look at our growth centers. So previous to consolidation, West Hants had identified 2 growth centers within 3 Mile Plains and Falmouth. Again, just recently we saw the conflicts that a growth center designation, what it creates in an area in 3 Mile Plains where you're getting 4 or 5 story buildings popping up between single family homes. It just doesn't fit, folks. Through consolidation, that's a big thing that we're going to be able to address and address it appropriately and properly. 3 things for all areas. Thank you very much.
Chuck is the final candidate to speak on this question.
I had a note to tell me I don't speak loud enough. Can you hear me now, guys? Can't imagine that ever happening. This is a great question. I think as I spoke earlier and I talked about the number of people running and who put their name on ballots right around this region on each district, there's going to be a great team of people at the table regardless of who's elected. There's some really, really good people there. There's some great people coming back who've been acclaimed. I would look forward to being part of that team and sitting down. One of the first things I would do is have a conversation and say, hey, we represent and we have the honor of representing all of the people together. It doesn't matter if we're in Somerville, Bramber, if we're in Vaughan's, we're in Windsor or Hantsport, wherever we are. We're one. Our priorities should be set as one. We should look at our areas equally. They all have different pieces. They all have different issues, perhaps, but we need to address those issues. There's infrastructure. We talked about that. That is key. There's health and safety issues. There's sidewalk issues. There's school bus issues. There's all kinds of issues. And you can say, oh, some of those issues, and look at our hospital. Nobody said a word tonight about our hospital. It's closed. It seems some will tell you more often than it's open. There's issues there, but don't just be critical of it. Pick up the phone and call. That is everybody's responsibility. There's 3 levels of government in this country. There's one taxpayer. It's you. We have a responsibility to all of you. Pick up the phone. Call them. Why are you closed? Can we help you? How do we help you? What's the deal? When will you be back open? Let's communicate to people. These are all serious issues. That is a huge issue for me. In the first 100 days, the first day these conversations start with our council decide what direction are we going in the next 4 years, and we need to be talking to the people. We are talking to the people right now while we're on doors every night and in the afternoons and tonight when we have the benefit right here with you in front of us. We are talking to you. We need to know what you think. Our half hour that we're supposed to have after this is going to be key for all of us. It doesn't matter who becomes mayor, whichever one of us. You got 4 candidates here. We all need to be working together. Even those of us that aren't elected, there's talent at the table. Reach out and ask them. They'll tell you. Take advantage of that. These folks have put their names on the ballot. Good on every one of them. I've had the pleasure of representing the people here. Would I love to do it again? Absolutely I would. That's why I'm here. I enjoyed it. It's fun in some ways. Some people might think that's a little crazy, but it is fun because you get to meet. And I grew up here all my life, and I thought I knew a lot of people until I got into politics and got elected. I met a lot of people from all over. What a wonderful thing that is. Talk to people. See what they want. Act upon what they want. Take them seriously. Thanks so much.
So I will confess we're moving along at a quicker pace than we anticipated, which is great news for all of you because I know you have questions for the candidates. I was actually back there thinking, oh, maybe I could write one and throw it in, but I'm not going to do that for you. Instead, what I will do as I look at the clock, we have asked all of the candidates to sort of prepare, I guess you could say a conclusion, but really just some closing thoughts before we release them into the public and all of that. Just for some concluding thoughts, let me check my list here. We're going to hear from candidates in the following order. I'm not going to interrupt them. We did ask them to prepare, so I'm not going to come lurking out from the back and cut anyone off. So take 2 or 3 minutes if you'd like, definitely, to share information with us. So for our conclusions, and they'll just come up one after the other, first we have KJ, and then Chuck, Jeff, and then Abe will finish the conclusion points. So we'll start with, as I just said, KJ. Go ahead.
Okay, this is just like a small snapshot of who all 4 of us are, so I really encourage folks to reach out. I'm hosting community engagement sessions. I'm
being told a little bit closer.
Okay, there we go. I've hosted a few of them throughout the region. We have 2 more in Eller's House as well as Upper Vaughan. Encourage folks to come out, and there have been really good sessions where folks who are coming throughout the whole municipality are coming out to these engagement sessions, and we're hearing each other out and testing out this idea around what would the trust look like and how can we build collaboration. So I really encourage folks to come out there, and then go to our website. As I said, win or lose, the work that I do, I get to build community development plans with municipalities. So I will be reporting back of all the information and all the data that I've collected throughout this campaign of all of the things that folks are saying. So go to our website, fill out the information around what you're seeing in your community, how do you see yourself in West Hants, and just encourage people to get out the vote. Once again, this is a small, brief, introduction to us, so really take the time to get to know us. Thank you.
And Chuck is next.
Thank you. We've had some great questions tonight. We talked about priorities. We're always going to have priorities. Doesn't matter however many years, we've always had them, we'll always have them. We have infrastructure, we have things that are old that need to be fixed, we have any number of issues that will always come before us. We need to be open to having those discussions as a council, as I said a few minutes ago, as one. We need to be talking to people, we need to be helping them where we can. That's our job as council, as mayor. The mayor has 1 vote. Abe's alluded to it a few times. He's been sitting in the chair. Jeff sits at the chair. KJ wants to sit at the chair. Chuck wants to come back to sit in the chair. Everybody's here for the right reason. That's a good thing. What a wonderful thing that we can all come out here tonight and have a debate or a discussion, call it what you want. Somebody will be chosen down the road in a couple of weeks' time, along, as I said, with some great councillors. It should be something that we enjoy doing. It should be something that we have to do, we want to do. We have to have an interest in doing it. There's always going to be issues. Don't be fooled. They will always be issues before us. Housing, we talked about it. Health, we talked about it. Sidewalks, we talked about it. It's important to me. That's one of the reasons I'm here. Democracy is a wonderful thing. It's great, like I said, that we can come here tonight and have this kind of discussion. I want to thank all of you for coming out. I want to thank the auxiliary for putting this place together for us, and the fire department, the chamber for putting it on, and for the candidates for being here. We look forward to seeing some of you in Eller's house on Monday night, I believe it is the 7th, where there will be a debate down there that they're hosting there in the hall. So thanks so much for coming out, everybody. It's been a real treat to be here.
Jeff's up next.
Thank you, Tim. Oh, I had a lot of fun along the campaign trail so far. You know, all the kids giving me the thumbs up, see me going in the dump truck, and you know, getting to talk to everybody that I haven't seen in a long time. A public speaker, I am not yet. I am going to work at that really hard. One-on-one conversations are great for me. You know, I can get connected to the individuals and what their issues are. You know, and I think we need to stay informed with our residents and stay close to them. You know, have more town hall meetings at the halls. If we can just get people to come out, it's that's the hard thing at the town halls. You only get 4 or 5 people to come out, and it doesn't seem like you hit enough of the audience. But yeah, I thank you all for coming tonight, and I'll be glad to get off the stage and have one-on-one conversations for sure. Thanks.
Thank you. One more set of concluding thoughts from Abe.
Thank you very much, Tim. And just along the lines of everybody else, what they said, folks, thank you for coming out tonight, taking your evening to come listen to us, get to know us a little bit better. Some of us you may know, some of us you may not know as much, but you're definitely getting to know us all through this process, and it's been a great process. 8 years for me. I've done a lot of these sessions. I've done a lot of community halls. I've done a lot of council meetings. I've done a lot of door knocking. I've done a lot of one-on-ones, groups, a little bit of everything, folks. This is nothing new. The more you talk to people, the more we get together, the better we are, the better we make decisions. 45 days on this campaign trail for me. I've got to a lot of doors. I've heard a lot of things from each and every single one of you. It's been quite interesting. But very thankful, regardless of who's successful come the 19th of October, all of us have been doing it. It will make us stronger leaders for you. At the end of the day, it's about you and only you. A true leader unites people and brings them together, folks. A true leader makes difficult decisions and faces adversity with poise and respect. A true leader supports their staff, respects their colleagues, and champions council's decisions regardless of their personal opinion. A true leader supports the community, stands up for its residents, and continually shows up through good and bad days, all 4 years worth. A true leader lifts people up. A true leader is for the entire community, humble, focused on creating an inspiring community that is fully funded, healthy, vibrant, and united. A true leader will always promptly return your emails, phone calls, and be available at all times for you. West Hants, you need a mayor that understands this region and how it works and makes sure the best decisions win. West Hants, this is the time to re-elect myself, Abraham Zebian, your choice for a brighter future.
So before we conclude for our Hants County goodbye and mingling session, I just have a couple of notes. Someone mentioned the event in Eller's house on October 7th. I'm not sure if it starts at 6:30 or 7. Does anyone in the crowd know what time that event starts? No. It's on the municipality's information page about events. 7. So October the 7th in the beautiful community of Eller's House, you can listen to our candidates again, and I believe the candidates for that district as well. So we have work to do as a crowd and as a region. Statistically, voter turnout in municipal elections it's abysmal. It's between 30 and 40%. So when you think about that, that's really only 3 out of 10 of us that not us, because we're obviously going to vote, but 3 out of 10 of us who are able to vote that actually get out and make the effort to do it. So I think that our job from tonight onward to help our candidates is to find out more information if you want. B, like I said earlier, choose your candidate and be vocal about it. We should all participate in this process because it is a process for us. Municipal elections affect us more directly than often the other two elections that we participate in because we see these people much more often, and that includes all of our councillors for our 11 districts. So I want to thank our candidates, first of all, for coming, and they were agreeable from the start. We didn't know how we were going to pull this off tonight, but we're so glad, I'm so glad, it's almost over, and I know that they are as well. So just information for all of you, advanced polls are available on starting Thursday, October 10th, and again on Tuesday, October 15th. Electronic voting is also an option. Please check with the West Hants Regional Municipality to ensure your name is on the electors list. Many of you will be receiving, I believe this week and next in the mail, the actual card that lets you know that you're eligible to vote. You are if you're an adult and you live here in West Hants. If you've moved in the last few years, that's often something that could complicate your name being on a list of electors. So please make sure that you're on that list, make sure that you get out to vote, and tell all of your voting age friends and family to do the same. Election Day is Saturday, October 19th, and like I just said, please vote, everyone. Let's get that statistic up much higher. I think that's an easy thing for us to do, is to get involved. So having said that, we're gonna actually break a little earlier before our candidates sort of join you and mingle and chat. They agreed early in this process to have sort of this time after this conversation, this forum, to talk to all of you if you're able to ask questions, because like I said at the beginning, I know you have them, we all have them, but everyone's question has so much value. We couldn't possibly put a microphone in front of these gentlemen and just make a big line of people. I don't think we would have gotten very far tonight. So our hope is that you received some information. Maybe you saw a face that you hadn't seen before, and you're making your considerations based on not just the information tonight, but the decisions that you make with your engagement in the process. So I know there are coffee pots back there, and I know those things turn green. So if you'd like, please stick around. We are here until 8:30. The candidates have agreed to be here for that length of time as well. I know it's getting hot in here, but we could all have a cup of coffee, use the washroom, have a chat, talk to your neighbors, do whatever. West Hants, please go vote. Please, please, please. Thank you all, and have a great night.